What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. You're watching Adventure GT, and today I'm here with my friends Kurtis and Dylan and their 1989 Toyota MR2.
It's a 89 MR2 rust bucket, 120-ish thousand miles and lots of Iowa cancer. I bought it from a guy, sight unseen pretty much. Bought it in the dark and in the rain, which you don't do that, but it was a $500 car. Tree had fallen on it and needed a hood and windshield. The bumper was pretty well messed up, so I figured, you know what, I've been hearing about this gambler thing with $500 cars. Let's make something out of that. The front bumper I did not make, I just modified to fit. It is actually a front bumper flipped upside down for a hobby stock dirt track car. The only thing I did was flipped it upside down and made my own brackets, and that was it. The rear bumper I made out of some straight tube and some other leftover bumper material. It's lifted on mid-90s Toyota Corolla front wagon springs and struts. Used those in all four corners, and then I had to actually have a welding shop make some 2.5-inch extra spacers for the rear because it sagged horribly. The only thing is with the rear, I had to reuse I used the MR2 top mounts, but the struts bolted right in, didn't have to drill them, and it still needs lifted more in the rear because the springs must not be very good at all. It's lifted approximately 3.5 to 4.5 inches over factory with just the suspension, and then
just taking the bolt-on parts and it instantly takes it up 3 inches?
Pretty much, yeah. And then the tires, it went from a 23.5-inch tall tire to a 26-inch tall tire, so there was more lift in that as well.
What did it take to get that tire to fit?
Finding the right offset wheel. The first ones I bought were wrong, and they rubbed a lot. It's a 15x8 with a 4-inch backspace.
Then I had to smash the pinch weld and then cut the corners, cut the flare out of the corners, the quarters, and then put the flares on.
Yeah, the only reason why I did that, cut the flare out, is because the tire was still hitting, even with, it's just on the bumps, because the ass end of this, or the behind of it, is still not as high as I want. I want it to match the front.
Are these just universal flares, or?
The rear ones are just eBay, Amazon flares, and the front ones, I think they're like Buyer's Bulldog mud flaps for like a semi or something like that. They already have like a cut in them, but I wanted something that was nice and wide. On all honesty, I'm probably less than,
You gotta be less than $3,000 in this car.
$2,200 in this car.
So everything we see right here is $2,200.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know if in the picture, the CRV, I'm into $1,500. You know, if you can see it in the shot.
Right back there.
Yeah.
$1,500.
Yep, I built the light bar so we can house them big old lights. They were on a different Toyota I had. Unfortunately, they're not hooked up right now. I just have not done that yet. They do all work. I had them on an 86 Toyota pickup that I mounted up above just like that as well. They call that the C-pillar, and the plastic on this was gone and broke, so I was like, you know what, let's make it more Mad Maxy looking, and we gutted the interior. It's actually got a homemade dash in it. No carpets right now, just for ease of cleaning, because it does get a little muddy sometimes. I think the dash was actually the heaviest part. The carpet wasn't too bad. I will put actually some, it's rear engine, in case nobody knows that. There is supposed to be some heat mat between the firewall and the occupants. The heat mat's all gone right now. It doesn't get horribly hot in there, but noise and heat, we'll put that back in eventually. So it has a new brake mass cylinder, new brakes all the way around on it, new tie rod ends, new ball joints, new control arm bushings.
Nothing to the engine and drivetrain.
Nothing to engine drivetrain. It is just a little 4-cylinder automatic. It looks way faster than it is because it is very slow. But and it's got a skid plate, I suppose, too. We did a skid plate on her.
That's about all we've really done to the car.
I mean, for how awesome it looks, it really doesn't have much done to it. I mean, when you think about it. It's got a CB radio, fire extinguisher. I keep first aid kit and whatnot in there too, just safety's sake. It sounds mean because it does not have a catalytic converter, which is naughty. It's supposed to have one. It does have a muffler though.
Do you know how much this thing weighs?
The curb weight factory on it's about 2,300 to 2,400 pounds. And with me gutting it and then adding the bumpers back in, it's probably about the same.
You said you guys pulled a trailer with this with camping gear, so you've taken it camping, or what's
Yeah, it was a little 4x4 Harbor Freight trailer that we bought off some guy for 50 bucks. I put some new tires on it, and then the lights and a wiring harness. I put a truck bed toolbox on it. We put all our sleeping bags and book bags and clothes in that, and then I had some totes on the back for our tent and a cooler and whatnot. And we slept in the tent that night, and I kind of forgot to bring an air mattress for this guy, so he slept on some cushions and a rock. But the next night we did get a hotel because I felt like being nice. So I hate the sunroof. I absolutely hate the sunroof. I'm sorry, people that love sunroofs. I hate sunroofs.
I hit my head on it driving it here.
He's 6'2"-ish and I'm 6'-ish. And his seat is touching the firewall and mine is darn near touching the firewall. And because there's that drip pan or whatever in case water gets underneath the sunroof, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we hate the sunroof. I want to actually find a tin top and cut the roof out, but that's just too much work for a $500 car. The trunk is actually quite spacious, the front trunk. Like I said, the chairs that we're sitting in can't fit in it, but we had them in the trailer. That one would, but you know.
Yeah, space.
Space in the sunroof, that's it. It's done 2 or 3 rallies so far. Our longest one was this, the 2020. That's when we did all of Southern. The 2020 one is where we actually started in the very, very southwest corner of Iowa. And in one day, we drove to the southeast corner at Keokuk, Iowa.
How many miles?
That trip in one day was just over 300 miles, but our whole trip for that weekend was 1,000 miles.
Okay. Can you tell us what a gambler is?
You try to take your cheap beater cars. They don't necessarily have to be 500 bucks. I kind of overspent on the CRV back there. It was 1,000, but it's cheap, impractical cars on 500-mile road trips. This is not a race. I know a lot of people say the Gambler 500 is not a race. It is not. It is a navigational challenge. You pick up trash. I think this last year we got a couple dumpster fulls of trash. In the 2020 Gambler, we picked up 20-something tires between all the teams.
20-something tires, microwave.
Yeah, that's kind of what it all started out with. It was just, let's take a Toyota Corolla or a Honda Civic and just do silly stuff with it. That's what it started out with. And that's kind of what I was looking for when I found this, and I'm like, well, that's basically a Toyota Corolla, so let's use that, you know, and it's different. I suppose if you want to buy a fun car that's kind of different, but not too different, that people may hate you or may hate or love to hate you for doing something silly, I mean, this is kind of the car to do it to. They did make almost 1 million of these things, so cutting one up, I did not feel bad about one bit. There's plenty of other ones around the world that are in perfect shape, and I just happened to pick one that was rusty to cut up. So hopefully no more people yell at me for going, why'd you cut up an MR2? Because it was a rusty pile of junk that a tree fell on.
All right, guys, that's all about Kurtis and Dylan's MR2. If you guys want to see more about it, their Instagram is going to be linked down in the description. So go check it out and see what's up over there. Otherwise, this is Jake with Adventure GT, and we'll catch you later.